Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Guys! So, oh jeez. Holy crap. Guys, the sky is blue. My god. It's the end of days. It's done. It's all over, man. It's all over. But you know what? If I'm going out, this is gonna be my last video, then we're doing this right. Crossover battle time. That's right, we're going old school. You know, back in the day, I used to delve in the crossover battles myself a little bit, and I still enjoy watching the Screw Attack Death Battle and all that stuff. But you know, I couldn't animate them, and that was the problem. You know, I'm just sitting here explaining to you what I think the characters would do, and, you know, watching like the death battles, even if you don't agree with the outcome a lot of times, because, you know, a lot of people get pissed off by that, it's at least visually, you know, pleasing to watch, you know, the animation of these two characters going at it, right? So, yeah, I decided to do a new format, though. So here's what we're going to be doing, okay? I did that Goro Goro no Mi video for Eneru a few days ago, and I'm, you know, reading the comments for that, and I'm starting to realize, it's like, holy crap, Eneru is pretty damn OP. Like, you know, his fruit is like basically a fruit where just you eat it and then it gives you like not infinite, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, infinite power. I mean, like, when you can just summon lightning bolts like this over and over again and it doesn't tire you out, I mean, like, yeah, you might not have infinite power at that point, but it doesn't matter. You could just, you know how much energy is in a lightning strike, and you could just do that whenever. You could just send a giant bolt to just wipe out a town whenever you want, and it doesn't even really tire you. You just yawn. That's pretty broken when you really think about it, right? Now, Eneru had a lot of faults with himself. You know, his god complex, his ego, you know, and then when he ran into Luffy finally, that also caused some troubles with him. And, you know, Eneru is a prime candidate for the first episode of this new Versus series I got, because he's a character that doesn't really encounter any of the main threats we see in the story, because he was up there in Skypiea, kind of in his own little self-contained world, in a self-contained arc, really. Talk to Nux about this. From what I hear, Skypiea is a microcosm of One Piece. Woo! I love just saying that. I just like saying the word microcosm. It's not something you get to bust out very often. But he was up there, right? He was up there in Skypiea in the White Sea. He didn't encounter any of the Admirals or the Yonko or the Warlords. And the first people from the Blue Sea that really, you know, gave him a run for his money was the Straw Hats, right? And then Luffy kicked the crap out of him, and now he's on the moon. He might come back someday. I mean, we could be in the middle of the final battle at Raftel for the One Piece. Like, everybody's there, and then Eneru descends from the heavens like, people of the Blue Sea world, I am your new god. And then everybody just kind of stops fighting. Like Blackbeard, Luffy, the Marines, the Warlords, the Yonko, they just kind of stop and look at him. And they just all attack him at once, and they just obliterate Eneru, and they just, alright, that was weird. Back to fighting. Come at me, Straw Hat. Say ha ha. You know, that would have been kind of funny. But he still might show up and throw his hat in the ring. So he's pretty damn strong, and it's always fun to talk about, like, what if this character were to fight against this one, like, like characters that are probably never going to encounter each other, like, I don't know, freaking Zoro fighting against, Dadan. Okay, that's a bad example. I got a better one. Rob Lucci fighting Magellan. That's a good matchup. Probably never going to happen. They're probably never going to even encounter each other. Although there is an assassin in Impel Down right now. However, it's not Lucci because Lucci's at Reverie. But, you know, okay, Rob Lucci versus Magellan. Like, stuff like that. So, because Eneru is so sequestered, you know, he can pretty much go up against anybody. And Oda came out and said, you know, Eneru's pretty strong. If he was a regular pirate on the Blue Sea world, he would have a bounty of around 500 million berries. And that's nothing to sneeze at. This was like pre-time skip. Oda was throwing out these numbers. Okay, that's a pretty high bounty, but as we know now, I mean, 500 million, I mean, that would qualify you to be like a Yonko commander, like Ace's bounty was around that. It was a little bit higher than that, actually, but it wouldn't qualify you to be a Yonko or one of the absolute strongest rulers of the sea, and Oda even said, you know, Eneru would be pretty strong, but he would not rule the Blue Sea world. So, I picked 6 characters out that we're going to put Eneru up against today. And I did not, you know, go into great detail here of every single, like, stat sheet for every character. This is just my opinion, just off the cuff. How would these characters fare against one another, okay? Like, how would the matchup be? And I picked 6. I know you could have, like, a list of 20 or 30 characters that you would probably want to see Eneru fight against. But just for brevity's sake and for this being the first episode, we'll see where this goes. And we can always do a part 2 of this, you know? It doesn't have to just be this video. But the 6 characters I selected were Akainu, Kizaru, Whitebeard, Big Mom, Blackbeard, and Fujitora. You might be wondering why I didn't pick Kaido, and that's just because we didn't really get to see a full repertoire of what Kaido's really capable of. We know he's got Haki, we know he can turn into a dragon, we know he can breathe fire, and we know he has a club. That might be enough for you guys, but for me, I'm like, let's hold off Kaido until maybe we could see a little bit more of how he gets into, like, when he gets into a serious brawl with somebody, how he fights. And then we'll move on to him. We can do this later. But for right now, I picked these characters that we know a lot more about. So, okay, let's get started with Akainu. Fleet Admiral Sakazuki versus Eneru. How exactly would that fight go? Well, already Eneru is at a major disadvantage because, as we all know, Eneru is pure electric type. Akainu is fire and ground type. And I don't know if you guys know this. I actually just found this out today. Electricity is actually ineffective on ground. So, fight automatically goes to Akainu. Moving on to Kisa. Okay, well, actually, not exactly a wrong, statement there. I mean, electricity, earth, it's a natural ground, so, and what magma really is, it's just rock that's superheated, and whenever Akainu activates his power, you see bits and chunks of earth inside of him spewing forth from him. That is the essence of magma, and he is a magma man, so, of course, the rocks are part of that. So, if Akainu was to just, okay, Eneru's right in front of him, and he just, turns the entire ground into just a molten mass of magma, and he could just rise it up in front of him like a magma dome, that's like rocks covering it and stuff, and of course the lava and magma is going to cool and harden. Electricity probably wouldn't be able to be very effective against that. Now, Eneru can always amp up the voltage to insane degrees, and one of the things in the last video that people were saying, I was unaware of this, but yeah, if you know the voltage and the resistance of what you're going at, you can pretty much calculate the amps and, the power that it's outputting. Suffice it to say, as we all figured, the amount of power Eneru can output is insanity. Like, it's ridiculously huge. Like, his max 200 million volts, like, you don't need to be an electrician to know 200 million of anything is a lot. All right, so, but if he amped it up to that level, he might be able to break through. But here's the kicker, though. Even if Eneru struck Akainu with a lightning bolt just dead center, what's that going to do to him? Hey guys, so here's a little bit of a troubling issue with this, and maybe you could help me out here, but it might just be more of like an inconsistency on Oda's part from what I've been seeing. So here's the deal. Lightning is insanely hot. Like, ridiculously hot when it strikes. Like, we're talking like hotter than the sun kind of hot. Like 50,000 plus degrees Fahrenheit, like 30,000 Kelvin, like incredibly hot. Magma, fire, they're not getting even close to that hot, right? So you could just say, like, oh, Eneru's lightning, when it strikes Akainu, it's gonna burn him the same way that, Akainu burned Ace. Like, Akainu, when he attacked Ace, was, magma can burn fire because it's hotter, even though a lot of times fire isn't. It can actually be hotter than magma. You could just say, oh, Eneru strikes Akainu, and lightning will hurt him the same way that magma hurt fire. Well, here's the problem. Luffy took a bunch of those lightning bolts. Like, he got attacked by Eneru a bunch of times, and, the attack didn't really seem to hurt him all that much. Now, later on, Eneru used that gloam paddling to burn Luffy with electrical heat through the gold, but not to the degree, like, if Luffy got hit with 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, like, his body would just melt. Like, quite literally, because he is rubber. It would melt. So, the amount of heat that can be outputted by Eneru's lightning is not even close to the amount that, like, an actual lightning bolt can reach, because that is just ridiculously hot. So that's why I went to say that, like, even with, and plus because, because Akainu has rock and earth as part of his power, works as a ground for electricity. That's another reason you could think of it. But yeah, I don't think Eneru can generate heat that high. Like, that's kind of absurd. Luffy would, like, melt immediately after getting struck with that, whether or not he, the electricity was nullified or not. He would still get burned by the heat of that. So yeah, just wanted to clarify that point. And this is where we get to the real kicker here. This is where Eneru could potentially get his ass kicked 8 ways to Sunday here, because all of these people know armament hockey. Eneru, as far as we're aware, doesn't have armament. You could always say, like, oh, maybe he's going to train on the moon and he'll learn it. Maybe. He does have observation. He has really good observation, but that might be the trade-off. He'd be like, he has some of the best observation in the series when he takes that combined with his powers, his Goro Goro no Mi, but in exchange for that, he does no aptitude with armament or anything like that, right? So that's a problem, but it's not a huge problem. You can't just say that, oh, all these people have armament hockey, therefore they can just wipe out Eneru. Eneru loses all of these fights just automatically. Because Eneru has that really godly good observation, plus Eneru can move really wicked fast. So let's just pause for a moment and talk about that, alright? Eneru's speed. I went back and looked at this, and a lot of times whenever he talks about his speed or how fast he can be, it was when he fought against that one Shandian named Kamakuri, I think his name was, or Kamakiri, I think. And so that guy, he tried to attack Eneru, and Eneru just defeated him soundly, and he tried to run away, and Eneru was like, do you think you could really escape? You think you can run away from thunder itself? He says thunder. He doesn't say the speed of lightning. He says thunder. Maybe it's a mistranslation, but then you got to remember the literal translation of his fruit, the Goro Goro no Mi, is the rumble rumble fruit, indicating the sound of, you know, thunder, rumbling thunder. So let's just say, okay, lightning can strike at a speed of around, I think it's like 3,700 miles per second. It's not quite 4,000, but rounding up, it's like 4,000 miles per second. It's really fast how lightning can strike. Okay, cool. Obviously, thunder moves a lot slower than that. It moves at around the speed of sound, because it's sound. And, of course, when you see, like, a lightning bolt in the sky, the light from that travels at the speed of light. So we got, when you see it in the sky, that's the light, you know, traveling speed of light. And then the actual stroke, like the return stroke of lightning, that's around 4,000 miles per second. And then, of course, you have the sound of thunder, which is even slower than that at the speed of sound, like around, like, 1,000, like Mach 1, right? Okay, cool. Even if you're going to say he can only move that fast, let's just, like, low estimate, let's say, all right, let's take what he said for granted. Let's say he can move at the speed of thunder. That's the speed of sound. All right, he still outspeeds pretty much everybody else on this list, except for Kizaru. Okay? Because Kizaru obviously can move either at or very, very near the speed of light, if you want to be a stickler about it. But, yeah, so Kizaru obviously moves faster than him, but Eneru can at least move at the speed of sound. He can move wicked fast at the speed of thunder. Now, there was a scene, and I want to just bring this up for reference. There was that final scene when Luffy was about to defeat him, when Luffy had that golden ball attached to his arm. He stretched back, he went to go hit Eneru. Eneru saw the golden pistol coming at him, and he thought to himself, that's fast, this is fast, and it hits him, and it defeats him, and it knocks him out. So how come he didn't dodge that? I don't think Luffy's attack was fast, sure, but was it breaking the sound barrier? Was it moving faster than sound? I think that's really more of an example of Eneru at that time, you know, just being perplexed by Luffy. You gotta figure, Eneru, he's a huge freaking god complex. He has an ego even bigger than Seto Kaiba's, alright? The entire time that he had his fruit, he was nigh invulnerable and the omnipotent god of Skypiea. Nobody could stand against him. Anybody that dissented, lightning bolt, gone. Just wiped out. He was supreme. That's eventually going to go to your head, and that's not a good thing. So when Luffy first demonstrated not only he could injure Eneru, but Eneru could not injure him directly back with his lightning, no matter how many. He's like, 100 million volts! Nothing's working. And people have even told me, like, rubber's a natural insulator, sure, but even rubber has a limit. You know, like, you amp it up high enough, it's gonna even toast rubber. But hey, he's not, Luffy is not merely rubber. He is the very essence of rubber itself. So therefore, he is just insulated against all electrical forces. Doesn't matter how strong it is. That's how that works, right? But no, it's just like, that's gonna mess up Eneru, and we even saw that when he made that face. You're just like, what? Does not compute. And I think that's part of it, and also, like, when Eneru went into that final form, that Amaru, that 200 million max volt Raijin god shit, all that really did was make him a bigger target for Luffy. I think that was more of just him not thinking straight and being like, I am better than him. I am God. I'm going to show him that I'm the strongest. I'm going to show him my strongest move, and he will bow before the powers of Raijin, almighty Eneru God. Not realizing all I'm really doing is making myself a bigger target for this, and, the attack's coming at him, and he's like, oh, it's fast, but maybe I could take it, because I'm awesome, and he didn't, but I think he could have dodged it if he really wanted to, maybe if he was calm of mind and he wasn't so full of himself there, but from what we've seen, how fast he can move, and how fast Luffy's attacks seem to be, doesn't seem to be any, and in his observation hockey as well, I just don't see any reason why he couldn't have dodged that if he just had a calm mind. Maybe he was all upset at that moment, he was freaking out, and something similar to Katakuri. His observation was faltering there because he wasn't he wasn't really focused on the situation. He was too distracted by other things. So, yeah, he can move at the speed of sound, right? Which is going to cause problems for Akainu. Alright, so moving back to the fight now here. But it doesn't matter how fast he travels, because if he doesn't have armament hockey, and his Logia is not like a natural enemy of Akainu's. If anything, it's the opposite. Akainu's is another enemy of Eneru's. The main problem here is, could Akainu manage to hit Eneru? Because of his crazy good speed and his observation hockey, all of Akainu's attacks aren't really all that fast, honestly. He's like Red Dog and Great Eruption. Yeah, they're fast attacks when compared to a regular human, but Eneru, Great Eruption, boom, and then there's molten magma and rocks flying anywhere. That shouldn't really be any problem for Eneru. Eneru should be able to sense, where the rocks are gonna fall with his mantra and be able to turn into thunder or electricity and slip in between them or just get, a safe distance away. Also, we're keeping in mind here, Eneru really has to get over himself if he wants to have, a real good career as a fighter in One Piece, Because if he's just I am God, therefore you cannot harm me, and then he doesn't do anything and someone just walks up to him. What happens if someone walks, if Garp, I don't have Garp on the list. What happens if Garp walks up to Eneru, and Eneru is just ha ha, go ahead, mortal. You can't hope to fight me. You can't hope to even injure me. I am made of light. Boom! And then Garp armament BAM! Right in his face. Because that's how full of himself he gets. He was right next to Kamakiri. Kamakiri had a spear and, the burn blade and everything. And Eneru's just sitting there you can't hurt me. I'm lightning. And remember what Peckham said to Caribou. He's Logias that think they're invincible, they have short lifespans in the new world because they're not once armament hockey gets involved. But if Eneru can get over that, if he can get over his own ego, I know a monumental task in and of itself, and if he becomes aware of the dangers of armament hockey, it's okay, armament hockey, that hits me, it's gonna hurt. And if he gets aware of that, and he's able to dodge attacks and everything, he could be okay. So, take it whatever you will. It's either a draw or Akainu wins. Don't see Eneru winning that fight. Okay, moving on to Kizaru. Now, this would be a fun battle, if you could see it. Alright, so, Eneru can move, speed of sound, minimum. Then we have Kizaru. Now, the idea of Kizaru traveling at the speed of light, I'm pretty sure he can do it. It's just, people have said, if he travels so fast, he might not be able to see where he's going, which is why that Yata no Kagami ability he has, when he uses the Yata no Kagami, he's not actually seeing where he's going while he's in the middle of transport. It's okay, I'm going to bounce, he has to, pre-plan where his Yata mirror is going to reflect off of which surface, and it's a teleportation technique. So he's okay, Apu is running away, I'm gonna have my light bounce off of these 6 buildings, and I'll appear right above him, and I'll kick him. Yata no Kagami, click, and he's already there. He's already above him, and he attacks. Kizaru himself is not, he didn't witness the speed he was traveling, because he was just so fast. So that's something people have said. But here's the thing. Even if Kizaru cannot travel at the speed of light, or he can't see where he's going if he's traveling that fast, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. You know how much faster light is compared to sound? If Kizaru wants to travel half the speed of light, that's still vast overkill. If we're just gonna go, okay, speed of sound, just 1,000 miles per second faster than the speed of sound. And then he's already faster than Eneru, alright? But Kizaru and his attitude, he likes to, you never know what he's gonna do, but I would like to see this fight where he doesn't end it immediately. All right, I would like to see Eneru kind of struggle a little bit with this brawl, right? Like, imagine like there's this giant wide open field where Eneru and Kizaru are fighting, and you're on like a hill off to the side of the field just watching everything. You would be getting like a laser light show. You wouldn't be able to see the actual fighters. You'd be just sitting there eating your popcorn. You see lightning just crackling and then lasers shooting off everywhere. And that would be pretty cool to see. But at the end of the day, Kizaru is faster, Kizaru has armament hockey, and Kizaru has lasers, which I'm thinking are going to trump the lightning. I think they are there. I think the lightning and the lasers, even if you want to say, all right, lightning and the lasers, they're maybe not obviously the same speed. The lasers can travel faster, but if you want to say they have the same amount of power, that's fine. But once again, all Kizaru needs to do is just zip, 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 zip right in front or right behind Eneru. And he might have hockey for that, but his reaction speed is not going to be good enough there. Akainu's attacks aren't that fast, so that's how maybe he can dodge that. But Kizaru is so ungodly fast. He's the fastest character in One Piece. Even if he knows, like, he's going to appear behind me, Kizaru could have already appeared behind Eneru, then in front of him, then to his left, then a mile to his right, then went over here to get a Starbucks, and then flew back in front of him. Well, as far as Eneru, his brain is firing. He's trying to still move to react to the first attack behind him. Kizaru gets a good solid armament kick right on Eneru's face, and it's done. So, that's really what a lot of these fights come down to. They come down to not really all just devil fruits, mingling with each other. They come down to whether or not, can this character manage to get a hit out on Eneru with armament? Because if the answer is yes, then Eneru is going down. If the answer is no, then it might be a draw. But that's the case there. Alright, so that's Kizaru. I think that's a cinch. Alright, moving on to Whitebeard. Alright, now we gotta use Whitebeard from where he's at in Marineford. I'm sure if he was in his prime, he would be a lot more of a tougher customer, but we don't know anything really about that kind of Whitebeard. We haven't seen that Whitebeard in battle, really. So we gotta use Whitebeard from Marineford, who is still really wicked strong, okay? And you could just imagine, for a second, before we even get into the fight, Whitebeard going up against Eneru. Eneru's this haughty, like, oh, I am awesome, I am the god, and he has, like, this immaculate little display behind him, like he summons Electricity Dragon, and the dragon flies out behind him, and it's just like, lightning crashes everywhere in this perfect shape of, like, a Tomoe pattern, and he's sitting there in the sky, and Whitebeard's with his Bicento just sitting down, drinking booze, and just be like, ugh. You're kind of a dumbass, aren't you, you dumbass? It is like, alright, you want a spanking? Alright, let's do this. Now, Whitebeard, his attacks, his vibrations are fast. Okay, how fast are they, though? And if he hits that vibration in the air, what's that really going to do with lightning? The way I can figure this, how this is going to go, because I even thought, like, okay, what if he can create a vacuum in the air with his earthquakes? It's like, well, even then, lightning can still exist in a vacuum, right? You can carry a charge through a vacuum. I don't think there's anything problematic with that. So I'm thinking, like, maybe the best it could do is Eneru shoots off lightning at, Pops, and then he uses his, like, he uses his vibrations in the air, like that thing where he, like, cracks the air. And all that really does, maybe it doesn't nullify the electricity, maybe it just bends it or warps the path of the electricity so it doesn't hit him. Or it would cancel it out. It would have some effect. I don't think it would just blitz right through it. I think it would do some effect. Of course, we're talking about basically causing an earthquake in the middle of the air, which is not something really possible. So, you gotta have to take some more liberties with that, because that's not, like, okay, somebody calculate what would it be like if an earthquake happened in the middle of the sky. It'd be like, don't really know if there's any formula for that. Maybe there is. I don't know. But I don't think it's really calculatable that way. So I think if that's the situation, if he can react fast enough to just hit him with that or the vibrations in the air, it would warp the lightning or redirect it. But it wouldn't exactly, it wouldn't just nullify it completely. Now, here's the thing, though. Eneru would outspeed Whitebeard easily, especially in his old age. Maybe back when he was younger, he would better reaction time and all that stuff. But right now, as he is in Marineford, I don't know if, because, I mean, Whitebeard has really good observation, but Eneru has kind of better observation, right? Now, once again, if he manages to grab Eneru and just take his Bicento and just, armament hockey up his arm so he can't get away, grabbed Eneru and just slashed him with the Bicento or just punched him really hard, which could very well happen, by the way, if Eneru is so freaking arrogant and stuff. Like, he attacks and just goes straight away at Whitebeard, just twirling his staff like, ha-ha! And then just boom! And then just obliterated right where he sits. But if Eneru can get over that, and if he can move in a way that, Whitebeard can't react to, if he can move that fast, or if he's just, like, playing a stall tactic where he's just zipping around the battlefield and just be like, ha-ha! Zap! 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 Because Eneru can just pour on those freaking lightning bolts. There really doesn't seem to be, like, a recharge or a cooldown period there. He was doing it with Luffy. Luffy's like, zap! And then it's like, oh, he's not harmed by it. So zap again! Oh, you're still... Zap again! Oh, you're still not? Zap again! And he could just keep pounding him. Maybe Whitebeard in his prime, yeah, that would be a way better fight. It would just be a way better because his reaction would be better and stuff, and he wouldn't be as worn down as he was. But I'm sorry, but I gotta say, like, I mean, I could see Whitebeard tanking, like, 10 lightning bolts. What about 20? What about 50? What about 100? Because if Eneru is, like, having all day to do this, and if he can stay a distance away, and I'm just gonna say, I don't think that Whitebeard's vibrations with the air, I don't think they're faster than the speed of sound. I mean, even if that's the case, I mean, the lightning he fires off still travels at the speed of lightning. It's just himself, he might only be able to travel at the speed of sound. And by the way, I'm being conservative with that. I'm just being like, he might be able to travel at the speed of lightning itself. It's just from in this context of the story, he says thunder, and the fruit's name is Rumble, so that's why I'm going with that. But he might be able to travel at the speed of lightning. He might be able to travel 4,000 miles a second almost. And, ridiculously fast speed, and I don't think Whitebeard's vibrations are that fast. A lot of Whitebeard's attacks focus on the ground because he has the power of a fruit that affects, it causes earthquakes, right? So earthquakes, tsunami, but that doesn't mean anything to Eneru. He can fly. He can zip around in the air, so I think just from Whitebeard's, like, old age and stuff, I think Eneru might actually have a solid chance at dropping him. I know, it's kind of sacrilege to say that, but I'm picturing this, and maybe you can help me out with this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, Whitebeard's on the ground. Whitebeard can't fly. Eneru just stays in the air, zips around all over the place, not being able to be tracked. Even if Whitebeard could sense where he is and sends out a vibration, Eneru can move by the time the vibration hits. And then all the while this is going on, while Whitebeard's firing off vibrations, while Eneru is dodging said vibrations, he's also just, aha, zap, 100 million volts, 100 million volts, 100 million volts, 100 million volts. And it just, every single one is constantly hitting Whitebeard. He'll be able to tank quite a few. I'm not saying he won't, but how many until his heart gives out is the question. So yeah, with that fight, I'm gonna have to say Eneru might have a good shot at taking out Whitebeard. Same deal from before. If Eneru makes a mistake, just grab him, punch him, over, done. That's true for pretty much everybody on this list. But it's just with his old age and stuff, I think, and just war of attrition, it might not end well for Whitebeard. If he takes too many of those lightning bolts. He might be able to take an insane amount, like 100 maybe. There's going to be a limit where he gets worn down, and Eneru doesn't seem to have a limit on popping those things off. So, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Moving on to Big Mom, though, other Yonko. Now, Big Mom, I put on here mostly just because she has Zeus, or she used to have Zeus. So, in this context, we'll be putting her with Prometheus and Napoleon and Zeus and her homies and everything like that. Which, from what we've seen when Big Mom fights, she primarily utilizes those three homies in order to fight. Either she combines with them, like Prometheus with the fire hair. She uses her Elbaf spear with Napoleon. She uses her lightning attacks with Zeus, or she rides on Zeus. And in conjunction with that, she's also got armament, she's got observation, and her skin is just like an iron balloon, as Sanji put it. So that's mostly how Big Mom fights, with just, her own attack power. Like, herself, she's got her strong skin and her hockey, and then everything else kind of comes from her homies. So, Zeus probably would be able to nullify the majority of the lightning strikes. Maybe if Eneru gets the voltage and the amps up high enough, it would cause problems, but from most of the lightning that we've seen Eneru pull out, even like his 100 million volts Vari and all that kind of crap, I don't really see a lot of problems. If Zeus is basically just a giant magnet for this, so every time Eneru fires off electricity, it just all gets absorbed into Zeus, I could actually see this fight actually going really quick. If you imagine Big Mom riding on Zeus, and Prometheus is behind her, like you have the Prometheus fire hair, and you have Napoleon and everything, and Big Mom is going right toward Eneru, and Eneru is just firing off all these crazy lightning bolts. Actually, he could fire off a huge lightning bolt, like a giant lightning, dragon, just roar, and then Zeus just absorbs it and like, that tasted good. And by the time, Eneru's like, before the attack maybe even is finished, before he even realizes what's going on, that this cloud is absorbing all of his electrical powers, Big Mom could already appear with Napoleon and just slash with armament, and it could be over. But, scaling that back a bit there, let's say that there is a limit to how much Zeus can absorb. And from what we've seen, there is. He gets kind of unstable if too much electricity is pumped into him, right? So, let's say he goes into his Amaru form. Let's say he does that, or he does his Raigo, his shit. It's like Raigo or whatever, and attacks with that. I don't think Zeus will be able to absorb all of that. In fact, that might just knock him out of commission. He might overeat in a sense. Like, Mama, I ate too much electricity. I'm sick now. And it'll be a situation where she's down a homie and she's got Prometheus and she's got Napoleon. I mean, Napoleon is a giant sword, so anybody can say lightning rod, and plus, Napoleon can also extend even longer, so mega lightning rod, and if Zeus is out of the picture, and if Zeus, Eneru overfeeds Zeus, and then she's out Zeus, and then she's using, freaking Napoleon, Eneru could just be like, thank you, and then just shock Big Mom. Now, kind of the same deal with Whitebeard, one lightning bolt is not going to drop Big Mom. Alright, it might not even do a lot of damage, because Nami did that lightning bolt thing with Big Mom, when she backfired Zeus, and she, so that's actually kind of neat we got to see that, how Big Mom reacted to a bolt of electricity. Granted, it was a giant bolt of electricity from one of her own homies, so that might have mitigated the damage a touch, or you could say because it was her own power, it did more damage than it normally would, but it still didn't do not a damage. This might turn into more of a stalemate. It just depends on how much electricity can Big Mom tank. Because going with the Whitebeard thing again, I mean, once you get Zeus out of the picture, if you pump enough into him where he's just rendered, sickly, or he can't absorb anymore, or he's so unstable, he's, discharging, Zeus's electricity would not hurt Eneru, going vice versa. Yeah, that's not an issue there. Zeus might absorb too much electricity, he might explode into, a little tiny chibi Zeus, and then if Zeus explodes while Big Mom's riding on top of him, that's gonna make her drop, and then Eneru could just keep pumping in tremendous amount of electricity, and it might take a long time, but I think he could win. So out of everybody so far, I think this might actually be one of the more evenly keeled fights, Big Mom versus Eneru. It just depends on how many lightning strikes take down Big Mom, and more importantly, how much Eneru can dodge them. I mean, Eneru might slip up at some point, and Big Mom grabs him and punches him, and once again, game over. He's solid. He doesn't have armament, and a solid armament punch, that's gonna drop him right there. He's not used to that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Big Mom, kind of a more even fight there. Blackbeard. I put Blackbeard on the list because of that mention he had against Ace when he was first revealing his Yami Yami no Bi powers. He says, "Darkness has the power to suck in everything." Just give you a second to, comment about that. Okay. Suck in everything. It can suck in light, it can suck in bullets, it can suck in the fire, it can suck in electricity. He even mentions lightning and electricity there. So, does Blackbeard have armament? He might now. I don't think he did before the time skip. Yeah, I don't think he does. At least revealed yet, right? So, with his darkness powers, they would work, but it's relatively slow compared to how fast he can move. Now, if Blackbeard were to change the entire battlefield into darkness, the whole field is just a giant black vortex sucking everything in, and Eneru has to resort to fighting in the air, striking down lightning. Of course, any lightning that he attacks is going to get sucked into the darkness and actually can be fired back at him, but that's not going to be an issue. Like, who cares? You know, like, Eneru fires electricity, it gets absorbed, Blackbeard uses liberation, and, you know, the lightning goes back at Eneru. It's not going to matter. It doesn't matter if it hits him or not. It would just get absorbed into him, and he would actually get, you know, stronger from wherever he was at, right? That's not a concern. But the thing is with Blackbeard, you have to remember, he has really low pain tolerance, but very high endurance. So that means he gets hurt very easily. He can be in pain very easily, and it's actually even more amplified with him. But in terms of it actually knocking him down permanently, that's a whole other story. Like, let's say Eneru gets a direct lightning strike out on freaking Blackbeard. He's going to be on the ground like, oh, that hurts so much. And then, choo, 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 just keeps slamming and lightning down on him again and again and again and again, not giving Blackbeard enough time to react, not even giving him enough time to just take his mind off of the pain. You know, like, he's just being constantly electrocuted so much. And remember, I don't know if this is going to play a role here, but remember, I mean, in a real-world fight, if you get electrocuted, that kind of locks up your nerves. You can't really move when you're being electrocuted. That's when people get, like, tased or stun gunned. Like, their whole body goes like a wet noodle, right? So if we're going to add any level of realism into this, if he just keeps slamming Blackbeard with electricity and with his, you know, amped up pain, you know, that he feels, it's just going to render him immobile, right? But you could look at this the way of, let's say Eneru goes to fight him, and he doesn't know what his ability is, and Blackbeard just opens up a giant black vortex and just sucks everything in. Eneru gets sucked into that. Nothing can escape it, not even lightning, so he would lose there. And then at that point, the fight's over. You know, like that there's nothing you could do after that. So the last person I put on this list was Fujitora, and I put him on the list because he has also really finely tuned observation because he's blind, right? And by the way, I didn't bring it up to this point because it doesn't really matter all that much, but one of the other abilities that Eneru could do, and I forgot to mention it during the Goro Goro video, but because he can summon lightning and, you know, it's light, it can blind people. But in the case of Fujitora, not really a concern, you know what I mean? So, yeah, now he might have an increased observation with his mantra, plus his, increased mantra with his Goro Goro, but, you know, Fujitora's hockey a little bit different. Eneru's kind of works like sonar, kind of, or like sensing the electrical vibrations in the air so he can hear what people are saying from a distance. That's how his works. Fujitora's observation works more like sensing people's auras. Alright, so he would go up to Eneru and he would just see the aura of Eneru and maybe the electricity that's firing off of him. He would see the energy from his observation point of view. That's how he would see him, right? So, I think just because of his other senses being heightened, I think Fujitora could dodge a lightning bolt or two. I think if he could sense the flow of the aura, the energy, and with his other senses and the way that we've seen him fight up until now, I think he can maneuver quick enough to avoid a few lightning strikes. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to avoid every single one. He's not a ninja. He's not going, hoo-hoo, ha-da, ha-chi, da-doo. But, you know, he can dodge a few of them, so that's going to help him in the fight. Now, as for gravity, even light is affected by gravity. So, in this situation, if he has true command over gravity completely, that could really mess up lightning. That could really mess up light as well. I mean, just anything. If he could just, like, you know, increase the gravity or decrease it to the point none of Eneru's electrical attacks might not be able to hit him with how he's warping gravity in the way he is. Now, we've only seen Fujitora use gravity in very simple ways. Like, I'm going to lift up a rock and then I'm going to throw it at you. Or I'm going to pull a meteor out of the sky. Very basic stuff. You know, the first things you think of. You know, using gravity to that extreme to actually, you know, mess with light and, like, photons and, like, also with, you know, the, like, electrical flow of it, doing it in that way, like, it's different, might require a little bit more skill, but I don't think it's impossible to do that, like, warping the lightning in the sky, affecting it in a way where it doesn't actually hit him, and, I think in this situation, I mean, yeah, being able to, you know, sense auras and things, he would probably also get a fairly good shot out on Eneru. It's the only problem with that is he can fly, but he has to, like, float on a rock first and everything to do that. So if he can use his Zushi no Mi, if he can use his gravity fruit to completely render Eneru useless. Like, if he can just make him weightless and Eneru's floating up, or he's on the ground and so crushed that even transforming into lightning's not going to save him, and it's just such like a ridiculous amount of G's, and then freaking, you know, Fujitora just walks up with his sword and just shing, done. If that can happen, then Fujitora wins. Otherwise, I would say it would be more of a stalemate. I would say it would be more of kind of like an Akainu kind of situation here, where, given the way that the gravity fruit works, I don't really see there's a lot of ways that Eneru could seriously injure Fujitora. You know, I don't think he could get close enough for a direct attack, because he would sense the aura coming. He would just use the gravity, because, you know, when Eneru goes to stab him with the trident, the trident has to be solid, you know, to actually stab him, or to electrocute him, it would have to be made of electricity. But like I said, all that stuff can be affected by gravity. If it's just reduced to a certain level or increased to a certain level, that would still affect it. So yeah, that's the situation there. Or if you just want to say, oh, it's like, that's not how it works in One Piece with the gravity stuff, and then be like, okay, Eneru would probably win. But if that's the situation, I don't think that's the way it would go. So anyway, yeah, those were 6 characters Eneru fighting against. Let me know what you thought about them below. If I did anything horribly wrong, let me know about that too, because as I said, I'm not really a, you know, guy that knows a lot about physics or anything. So, like, I'm, you know, gravity affects everything. I know that for certain. If it affects light, it affects pretty much everything. But when it, you know, and lightning is everything. So I'm pretty sure gravity, it might be an insane amount, but I think it could still affect, you know, lightning and stuff, and screw off its path and stuff. So let me know if I got that wrong though, and let me know how you would think these fights would go, and some other characters that could go up against Eneru. And if I, you know, get a good reception here, I think I'll make another video about this, and some other videos about characters fighting against characters that they'll probably never fight in the series, so to speak. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Later, everyone.